This is the Canon 5D Mark IV. This is a camera that was released in 2016, so quite a while ago. I got mine in 2017 and I've been shooting commercially with it now for 9 years. I know this camera inside out. At the time it was $3,500. Now you can get one in good condition for about $1,000, which I think represents really good value. I still shoot with this camera. It's still one of my best cameras to take on professional shoots, because what makes this camera special is often overlooked. I think when this camera came out, it actually got quite a bit of negative feedback, because I think that people just didn't understand what the camera was. They were comparing it to other cameras that were coming out at the time. And in comparison, there were some features that they were expecting in this camera that didn't come with this particular model. Things like IBIS, or they thought it was going to be a mirrorless system, film emulation built into the camera. They were seeing those in other cameras and they were expecting to get that in here. And I think that that is a little bit of an unfair advantage, because the target audience for this camera is completely different. This is a camera that was built for commercial photographers, professional photographers. And so the features that make this camera special often don't make it in the brochure. And what I want to do in this video is I want to share those 9 years of experience with you. So if you are getting one of these, then at least you're prepared and you know what you're going to get. And like all of my other videos where I talk about gear, I'm not going to go through all of the specs. You can find those online really easily. I am going to go through the ones that I think are important, and then we're going to talk about some of the features that don't necessarily make the brochure. So let me give you the basic specs that you need to be aware of. This is what I think is important. You've got a 30 megapixel full frame sensor. You've got dual card slots. The camera can shoot at 7 frames per second. It uses the EF mount, and the shutter is rated at 150,000 actuations, although people have been reporting quite regularly that they get somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 actuations, which is really good. And regarding autofocus, it's got a 61-point autofocus system. It's the same one as the one on the 1DX, which also has 41 cross tabs. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. Okay, so those are the basic specs of the camera. Now let's talk about some of the other things that make this a special bit of kit. We'll start off with the body. So this is a really tough camera. It's built so well. When you pick it up, it's got a nice weight to it. And the reason why it feels so solid is because the chassis or the body of the camera is actually full metal. It is magnesium alloy, and then they just bolt the plastic on the outside of it, but the inside is all fully metal. And so what that does is it makes a camera that's really, really, like, there's no flexing in the camera at all. And that rigidity is also transferred across into the mount itself, which is really important, especially if you're going to mount heavy lenses. When you mount a lens onto this camera, there is absolutely no flexing at all. And the way that it just locks on to that mount, it just feels really, really secure. I don't know if you can hear this. I'll just do that again. But when you put a lens on there, it's locked in there and there's no wiggle at all. The other thing about the body is the grip. It feels so good when you're holding it in the hand. It's a really big grip as well. So you've got room for all of your fingers. There's no like little pinky coming off the bottom there. Everything fits in there. So when you're holding onto it, just because it's so big there, it gives you a really solid hold onto the camera. It's not going to go anywhere. And then you have the weather sealing on the camera, which again is top notch. Every door, every latch, every button, every dial, everything is weather sealed, so nothing is getting in there. I shoot a lot at the beach, and I've never had an issue with dirt or with sand or with water. And that's a real advantage when you're looking at a camera like this, because it means that you can take the camera into environments where you wouldn't take other cameras. Now, I've already mentioned that it's got dual card slots. That's them there. There is an SD card and a compact flash card slot. So you've got 2 slots, which is really, really important when you're shooting commercially. You need to have some redundancy because your cards will fail at some point. So that's really, really important. But of course, most of the time that you're working in a commercial set, you are going to be shooting tethered. And so you've got your ports there. There's an HDMI and also an USB port that is extremely reliable. When you set up a tether session on this camera, it is a very, very secure connection, hardly ever drops out. And then you've got color science. And look, this is subjective, but generally speaking, Canon is considered to have the best color science around. Now, like I said, it's subjective. And you can tweak any profile from any camera to make it look like another camera or to make it look really nice. What the Canons do though is that straight out of the camera, without doing anything to the photo, without any editing, you find that the colors seem to be more pleasing, particularly around skin tones. They just look more natural and they look more they look warm and they just look really, really pleasing to the eye without having to do anything to it. Okay, so let's talk about autofocus. So the system on this camera is the same one as the one on the 1DX Mark II. If you don't know about that camera, that is an absolute monster of a camera. I did a video about it last week. If you want to check it out, I'll link it somewhere up here. So it's the same system. Now, it runs slightly slower on this camera, but that's just because this camera has one Digix 6 Plus processor. The 1DX Mark II has two of them, so it runs a little bit quicker over there. But as far as functionality, it's exactly the same. So what you get is 61 autofocus points, and 41 of those are cross types. So you get loads of them. With the cross types, it just means that it will focus on contrast using vertical and horizontal orientation. And then you've got the center focus point. And that point goes down to -3 EV, which is really, really good. What that means, I know if you don't know what that means, it means that that center focus point doesn't need a lot of light to be able to focus on something. -3 V is approximately moonlight. So I've been able to focus on things that I can't almost even see with my own eyes. So it doesn't need a lot of light, but once it grabs on, it just doesn't let go. The other great thing about this camera is that it uses EF lenses. And EF lenses are some of the most superb lenses that you can get anywhere in the world. In fact, I'll take a chance and say that they probably have the largest selection of lenses than any other system. And because it's been around for such a long time, you can get some really, really good bargains, some superb lenses for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost if you wanted to go for one of the newer mirrorless system. This lens, for example, here, this is the 85 1.2. Have a look at this thing. This is pure glass inside. In fact, it weighs more than the camera itself. This is a beautiful lens, f1.2. If you were to buy this on a mirrorless system, you'd pay a fortune. But you can get this lens now for a fraction of what those cost. So you're getting into a system where you can get comparable glass. I think it's just as good as the new stuff that's coming out today, but you're not paying anywhere near the amount of money that you would need for a brand new lens. And another thing is that if you ever move to a mirrorless system, you can mount your EF lenses onto a mirrorless system like the RF system. I've got a stack of EF lenses and I've got mirrorless bodies, and I use all of those lenses on my mirrorless bodies, and they work just as well as they do on the 5D. Now, something that you need to be aware of is that if you're shooting in RAW and you're shooting in continuous mode, the buffer will fill up after 21 images. So once that happens, you need to wait until the buffer finishes writing the images to the card before you can shoot again. So that's just something to be aware of, because the camera will shoot at 7 frames per second. So that's about 3 seconds. Now, if you're shooting in JPEG, it doesn't matter, because the files are small enough so that the camera can actually just keep up. And so it will never stop. You can just continue shooting. The battery on the camera is actually really good. I know some people give it a little bit of flack, but I think it actually works really well for stills. If you're shooting video, then that's a different story. But if you're just shooting stills, what I normally find that over a day, I probably use somewhere between 2 and 3 batteries. Unless, of course, you have some external power source to it. You can get a dummy battery that just plugs straight into the mains. That's typically what I do when I'm shooting on set, because I'm normally shooting tethered and I don't want to break the tether by taking the camera battery out of it and killing the tether and then having to reestablish everything. So rather than do that, I just put a dummy battery and then connect it to the mains. But if you do have to shoot with the batteries, then the batteries are fine. And also you can use the batteries from some of the newer systems like the R5s, which have higher capacity. Those will also work in here, and they will give you a little bit of extra life to the camera. Okay, so let's talk about video now, because this camera does actually shoot really, really good video, but there are some things that may hold you back if you are primarily a video shooter. So the camera will do 4K. It will do 4K and 1080p. The 1080p looks incredible. The 4K looks incredible. However, there is a crop with the 4K. I think it's around 1.34, so you just need to be aware of that. So if you need to do like really, really wide shots, that might be a bit of an issue if you want to shoot it in 4K. The 1080p though looks fantastic, and I think it's actually a really nice video camera. However, there are some things that are going to annoy you about it. For example, the screen on the back of the camera, it doesn't tilt, doesn't swivel, it's fixed. And I will argue that for most photographers, we don't really care about the screen. In fact, I don't want the screen to be flipping and swiveling, because that's just one more thing that can go wrong and it weakens the body of the camera. So for me, having a fixed screen is much better as a photographer. However, if you're shooting video though, it can be a bit awkward if you're shooting in different angles and you have to stick your head onto the back of the screen to see what's going on. That can be a bit annoying. So what I've done in the past is I've got an external monitor that I plug in, and that seems to do away with that issue, so I don't really care. But it's something that you need to be aware of. The other thing is that the HDMI port on the side of the camera, that only outputs 1080p. So even if you plug in a 4K recorder, you're not going to get 4K externally. You're going to get just 1080p. So again, that's something that you need to be aware of. And the final thing is that this camera uses a codec called MJPEG. It's a type of file which is beautiful quality, like really, really nice quality. You can get some incredible colors, loads and loads of detail. However, the files are huge and can sometimes be a little bit difficult to work with, especially if you've got a slower computer. So again, something to be aware of. But if you're okay with those limitations, and most of them you can work around, then this camera can actually produce really, really nice looking footage. I've shot loads of commercial courses and presentations, and the footage that comes out of the camera just looks stunning. The last thing I will say about video is that the camera does not come with a log profile, which is a bit of a bummer. However, you can get log installed onto the camera, but you need to take it into Canon. So it's not a firmware thing or something that you can download and install on the camera. They actually have to open up the camera and do something to the insides of it. But there is an option for you to put log in there, which looks really nice, and it does give you a bit more dynamic range. Now, they probably don't do that anymore, but I just wanted to bring that up because if you're going to get one of these, then ideally you want one that's got the log profile built into it. So hopefully I'm painting a picture of what this thing is really like, because I think primarily this is a tool. This camera is made to fill the requirements of a professional photographer, and professional photographers don't care about IBIS, and they don't care about film emulation or any of that stuff. We want a camera that's not going to stop working in the middle of a shoot or if it gets a little bit wet. And when you set it up in a tether, you want to make sure that that tether connection is reliable and stable. You want a camera that can take a little bit of abuse. Essentially, what you want is you want a reliable system, and that's exactly what this camera is. And because it gives me all of those things, I've got absolutely no plans whatsoever to stop using this. Anyway, hopefully I've managed to give you an idea of what this camera is all about. I think that if you're looking to get one of these, you will not be disappointed, trust me. But if you've got any questions about anything that I covered here, or maybe something that I didn't cover, or just general questions, you can leave them in the comment section of this video. I do my best to read and answer as many as I can. And what I will ask you though is that if you did enjoy this video and you're still watching, if you could click the like button, it would make a world of difference to me and to the channel as well. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to see more of my content, then consider subscribing to the channel. Just click the subscribe button and the notification bell, and that way YouTube will let you know when I upload my next video. But that's everything for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.